It's time to completely overreact. The Orlando Magic have played their first preseason game, and there's a lot to clean up, to say the least, but a lot to like, too. Let's go live. I'll answer your questions and more today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is October 7th and will be October 8th, 2024 eventually. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Thank you to those who are joining this live episode of Locked On Magic to recap the Orlando Magic's opening preseason game. We'll get to all the ins and outs of the game, plus answer your questions coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, whether you're listening to us live right when we upload or first thing in the morning. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's great Locked On podcasts covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is sponsored by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, we are here. We are at the preseason. We have seen the Orlando Magic play, and it was the first preseason game. Like y'all know me. If you've listened to the show, if you've watched the show, you know that I am not someone to overreact to things, and I'm not someone that's going to go crazy over one game, especially a preseason game. As I stressed yesterday, it's the result of this game did not matter. You didn't want to get blown out, obviously. And look, I'm not going to lie. There were some things that I think are concerning and things the Magic have to work on. But also, it felt like a first preseason game. And honestly, it felt like the Magic understood they have another gear they can get to and understood that in the preseason, they don't have to be playing at 11 like they did all of last season. It really honestly felt like the Magic understood that they could play this game at a 6 or a 7 and get mostly what they want. Now, if that's the case, I would argue that the Magic do need to increase the intensity, increase the urgency, and increase their intention. I don't think this is a team that can play kind of halfway out. And if that's the thing you learn in a game like this, that's fine. But as Paolo Banchero said after the game, which if you haven't heard his post-game, the audio of it at least, that dude's not worried about a thing. And if he's not worried, I'm not worried as a Magic fan. The bottom line is this. This is still a team that has to come together. And while there is a lot of continuity on the roster and players do know each other really well, responsibilities have changed. Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs have a lot more responsibility on their plates. They're being given more to do. And the way this game played out, a 106-104 win for the Pelicans, if that even matters. The way this game played out, it really felt like the Magic weren't quite sure what those roles and responsibilities were. Yes, Jalen Suggs brought the ball up more, was trying to be a little bit more aggressive, turned the ball over a lot, had 5 of the Magic's 23 turnovers in the game. Yes, Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner was still kind of on the ball. And Paolo, I thought, was really good and really picking his spots and really just kind of really worked at that pace and really worked in the way that he did. We'll get to the box score in a little bit. Franz, I think, was still trying to figure things out. And honestly, that's what this time period is for. This is where you begin to test everything that you've been learning in training camp, begin to figure out what your role and responsibility is within the team. And honestly, the issue with the game on Monday was everyone felt a little tentative. I've said this before, and one of the reasons why I like Paolo a lot is at the highest levels, it's a lot easier to teach a selfish player to be unselfish than an unselfish player to be selfish. And I'm not saying that anybody on the Magic needs to be selfish, but there is absolutely a level of aggression that I don't believe the Magic had in this game. Now, again, was that by design? Were they trying to ease back the throttle and say, like, hey, guys, don't go crazy, please. It's just the preseason. Y'all know what you need to do. Y'all know how you need to play. We'll get more out of practice than we will out of a 1:30 tip-off in New Orleans. Maybe Wednesday will be a little bit more intense. Hopefully we'll be able to watch it here in Central Florida. But it honestly felt like the Magic were still feeling each other out a little bit, especially Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Honestly, the turnovers were concerning. They happen. Some of those were miscommunication turnovers. There was a few turnovers where they just tried to make a ridiculous pass. Those are the easy ones to cut out. It's just about trusting your reads and just trusting everything that you've been working on. And again, you hope to, I say this all the time every year. It feels like, I say this every year. It feels like the goal is to get better as the preseason progresses. I want Wednesday to look better than Monday. I want Friday, if there is a game Friday because of the hurricane, I want Friday to look better than Wednesday. I want, certainly, regardless of who plays, I want next Friday's game against Philadelphia to be the best of those 4 games. It doesn't always work out like that. It's not always linear. And I think in the preseason, because we only get to see preseason games, we put more emphasis on the games, whereas coaches put more emphasis on the practices and what they're learning and doing in practice. Even if that's the case, Monday did feel a little bit, this game against New Orleans did feel a little bit like, okay, we're not as close as we thought we were, or we have a lot more to work on than maybe we thought we did. Now, that's not to say that the Magic aren't still in a good shape. I want to point this out. I did not think the Magic played well in the first half. I was expecting, all the overreactors to say, oh, this team's terrible. What are they doing? They still can't shoot. Check off all the lists. And I'd be like, they're still only down 2. Like, yes, the starters were all at least minus 12. Paolo Banchero was minus 12. But it honestly still felt like the Magic still have work to do. It still felt like, the Magic still have an extra gear to get to. And it still feels like even if the Magic are mediocre, they're still good enough to be competitive. Again, some of that is it's preseason. Some of that is that the Magic were able to get to the foul line a ton. They took like 35 free throws in the game. Like, they got to the foul line a lot. That kept them in the game, even though they couldn't shoot. I didn't think the ball movement was great. I thought it was better in the second half. I thought the energy from the bench group was really good. It's just abundantly clear that while there is a lot of familiarity, there's a lot of continuity, and there's a lot of confidence in what this team can do, they still got to get on the same page. And again, I want to just continue to reiterate this. This isn't 2K. You can't just roll the ball out and expect the lineups to work. You got to learn the players. And, I liked that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was more aggressive. I loved actually that he wasn't just a standstill shooter. He got downhill a little bit. He was willing to attack. He took some mid-range jumpers. Now, having said that, the Magic need to make sure that he gets his diet of 3-point shots too. The Magic only got him. Let me pull up my box score here real fast. Sorry, I did not have that prepped. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope only shot 4 shots, was 0 for 2 from 3. I'm not worried about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope missing threes. He'll be fine when the regular season begins. I think there were a lot of shots that were short. There were a lot of shots that just the team was a little excited, as you would expect for the first game. It's going to be interesting to see how this team develops. And again, I want to see the ball move a little bit. They only had 20 assists in this game. And again, maybe there's some free throw assists mixed in there that the stats don't show us, but there's a lot of evolution for this team. Obviously, though, turnovers are the big concern. 23 turnovers, 26 points. You expect high turnovers in the first preseason game. Again, I didn't think the Magic were particularly sharp. The Magic will tell you that they had good intention. They liked the things that they were doing. I don't think they were super engaged in the game. It certainly didn't feel like a regular season game as far as the intensity and the effort that they were giving. Defensively, they were a little bit looser than I think you'd like to see, but they know that's going to be there. They know that well's going to be there. And there were enough moments throughout the game to show us, okay, this team's going to be fine. Like, Paolo got downhill, got to spots, made his jumpers. Even Franz, I see people giving me the Franz stats, 2 for 8 for the game. He's 0 for 2 from 3. Didn't hate his 3-point looks. Whatever. Not gonna lose sleep over that. He was getting downhill, getting to spots, missing floaters. You can live with that. Again, the intention, I think, was correct. I think that the Magic were getting to the spots that they wanted to get to, and were doing the things that they wanted to do. It's just about getting everybody on the same page in the game situation. And that's why you have these preseason games. Knock off some rust in this game. It's a weird start time. Your routine's a little bit off. Knock off that rust. Get back on the horse on Wednesday against San Antonio. We'll see how the Magic look in that game, as that will be pretty good. We'll talk a little bit more about the standouts since we've harped on the negative or the potentially problematic. We'll get to the standouts from the game on Monday. Why Anthony Black looks like he could be the answer to a lot of questions coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Hey, live listeners and NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Plus, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. FanDuel has so many great offers to get you ready for NBA Season 2, including the Orlando Magic at over under 47.5 wins. You have the Orlando Magic at plus 1,800 to make the NBA Finals. You can even get some great odds on awards, too. Defensive Player of the Year, Jonathan Isaac, sitting at, where's Jonathan Isaac? He's sitting at plus 7,500. Jalen Suggs at plus 10,000. And yes, you can get games now as well. The Orlando Magic currently 1-point underdogs. Luckily, this game does not change the line. 1-point underdogs to play the Miami Heat on October 23rd. And if you're really sick, they do have preseason betting. They don't have a spread for Magic Spurs quite yet. But if you're really a terrible person and addicted to gambling, go get help. But they do have preseason odds there as well. You can check all that out, plus get that great deal, $200 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet with FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. I did bury the lead a little bit. There's two things I want to say before we get to the good part of this game, because there's a lot of good. Again, I think the issues that we saw with this team, or the perceived issues that we saw with this team, the turnovers, even the missed threes, that's just about everybody getting on the same page, getting their game legs under them. I am not like over the moon about how the Magic played in this game, but I am not concerned at all. I think they'll be fine. Everything that they showed us was correctable. We'll get to the point guard issues here in a minute, but I do think that everything is correctable, and I need some more data before I draw wild conclusions. But before we move any further forward, this question has come up a few times, and I'm just going to kind of address it here. The current plan, obviously, if you are in Central Florida, if you're in Florida at all, Hurricane Milton is coming. It'll probably be here Wednesday night, Thursday morning. It is currently a Category 5 storm out near the Gulf of Mexico. It is a very dangerous storm. And so I would encourage everyone to spend today and tomorrow, certainly tomorrow, probably not so much today, Monday, but Tuesday, encourage everyone to make sure they're stocked up on supplies, make sure you have water, make sure you have everything that you need to hunker down through this storm. It's going to be a very, very nasty storm, a very, very powerful storm that is projected right now to come straight through Central Florida. My plan, I'm in Orlando. I am currently hunkered down. I'm going to be hunkered down in my apartment, in my complex. Someone is asking about my plans for Locked On Magic. My current plan is, as long as I have power, I'm going to do an episode. The Magic do play Wednesday night against San Antonio Spurs. My plan is, as long as that I have power and internet access, there will be a new episode of Locked On Magic. But if not, that's why it's not out there. Please listen to local authorities, listen to emergency management, listen to whoever you need to listen to make sure that you get through the storm. Okay. Make sure you have the supplies that you need. Please take this storm seriously. The other thing that I buried in the lead here, we did not talk about this in the first segment, Wendell Carter Jr. The bad news of this game, the worst news of this game, is Wendell Carter left the game after rolling his ankle on Daniel Tice. He went up to contest a shot, landed on Daniel Tice's foot, rolled his ankle, apparently screamed pretty loudly. I had the TV on mute because League Pass was echoing audio, and that's no fun to listen to. So I was listening to the radio while watching the game. It was bad. It was apparently pretty bad, but they're going to do some imaging when they get to San Antonio tomorrow, hopefully. I would doubt he plays Wednesday, so the Magic will have to go without that for the next game. But hopefully he will be okay. Hopefully, it does not sound like it's going to be an injury that's going to take very long to recover from. If you played basketball, you have injured your ankle the way Wendell Carter's injured his ankle. I have broken my foot the way that Wendell Carter rolled his ankle. I don't think that's the case with Wendell, but you don't know. You got to wait for the swelling to go down. You got to just see how he feels in the morning. Definitely a major loss if he's going to be out for any period of time. But definitely a major thing to come out of this game. Don't want to ignore that. Don't want to change that. Like I said, Jason asking any word on him. The Magic did say he's going to go for imaging on Tuesday. And so we'll see what he looks like there. On the Hurricane front as well, was asked, are the Magic going to reschedule the preseason games? If they're canceled, no, they won't. The preseason games, no one cares. The current plan is everything in Central Florida is kind of canceled or postponed Wednesday and Thursday. The Magic are in San Antonio on Wednesday, so they're not in Central Florida. I do not know if their current plan is to travel back Wednesday or to wait till after the storm to travel back to Orlando. Currently, so I cover UCF as one of my other jobs. Currently, UCF is still planning to play a game on Saturday. The storm is going to be gone by Friday. So whether there is a Magic game on Friday at the Kia Center against New Orleans Pelicans probably depends on whether on how much damage there is in Central Florida. So we don't know yet. At this point, I would plan on there being a game, but who knows? Okay. Announcements done. Let's get back to Monday's game. Thank you guys for asking the questions. And please keep sending your questions in. We'll spend the last segment talking about general Magic stuff, not just about this game. But there was a lot to like about this game. As much as I think there's a lot of focus on what the Magic didn't do. And again, like all that stuff, the turnovers, the kind of clunky ball movement, the hesitancy, all that stuff's going to get corrected. That stuff wasn't concerning to me. Again, like if you had to ask me to evaluate this game, I'd give it a C+, B-. I don't think it was a good game. I don't think we're all sitting here like excited like we were last year when the Magic went to New Orleans and opened the preseason. We're like, oh, like there's a lot of stuff working here. There's a lot of stuff different here. It really did feel like the Magic were kind of holding back and saying like, okay, we know what we're doing now. We're not the young plucky team trying to prove ourselves. We're here. We're on the mountain. I don't necessarily think the Magic should have that attitude, but that's how it felt to me. I'm not concerned. I know they can rev it up. I know they can turn on. I know these guys know what they're doing. Nothing they showed me today was concerning, except for one thing, which we'll address more in the third segment. There was a lot to like, though. The bench, which I talked about yesterday, looked very good, very together. As much as the starting group seemed like they were still trying to figure each other out and how they all fit together within their roles, the bench understands the assignment. The bench knows exactly who goes where, who does what, and all of that. They knew everything. The Magic were down by 10, 11, 12 when the bench came in. Bench came in, deficit's gone. Magic are back in the game, back within 2 by halftime. Cole Anthony, I thought, was energetic. He didn't shoot the ball great, but I thought he was energetic. I thought he got to his spots. I thought that he brought a lot of verve to the game. Like I felt especially early on, the Magic were just kind of sleepwalking through things. And then like Cole Anthony came in, Anthony Black came in, Mo Wagner came in, Jonathan Isaac obviously came in. Really, I think up the energy level for the team. And really, honestly, like Anthony Black had such a strong game. I think Anthony Black showed us everything that he told us he was going to show us. And really, really like made a case to be a key player for this team. Finished with 9 points, just 9 points, 3 for 6 shooting, missed both of his 3-pointers, 3 for 4 from the foul line, added a team high 4 assists, did foul 3 times, only 1 turnover. And Anthony Black told us throughout the course of the year, of the summer, that he was going to get downhill a lot more, that he was going to play off of 2 feet a lot more. And this guy, frankly, just really good job getting into the paint, putting his head down, getting into his spots. Honestly, a really impressive showing from him on that front for that reason. And I loved how he controlled the tempo of the game. This was a point I made during Summer League, so I want to reiterate it. The area of growth that I think I really saw from Black in Summer League was his ability to know when to speed things up and when to slow down. He's really good in transition. He has great vision. He has great understanding of how to make passes with a head of steam behind him. But you can't always play that way. You can't always play that hyper. And in Summer League, especially, I thought he did a really good job understanding when to slow his pace down, when to kind of get into the offense a little bit more, how to lead this team. We'll talk about the point guard issue. I think that is an issue we're talking about. But Anthony Black looked more like a point guard than he did at any point last season. I thought he made really good decisions. I thought he was explosive. I thought he really showed us some growth in this game. And one of the big questions I had for this team is whether Anthony Black would be able to step up into that role. And obviously he hasn't answered those questions yet. It's just one preseason game, but Monday was a good step. Monday was a really encouraging step for him. I really, really liked what I saw from him. And again, it's not so much that it's surprising, but it's just a good game. I mean, take individual game plus minus for what it is. The Magic were plus 14 with Black on the floor. That was the highest mark on the team. Really good showing. Did a great job leading this team. Whenever the Magic needed to make a run, Black was usually the one that led the team in that category. The other guy to talk about is Goga Bitadze. Goga looked really good. He slimmed down a little bit, played only 10 minutes. He only played 10 minutes. Wow. Finished with 7 points, 3 for 4 shooting, 1 for 1 from 3, added 9 rebounds as well. Just a really good presence on the glass. Really still used his size. He's not, just because he's slimmer doesn't mean he's not big. And showed a lot more comfort working on the perimeter. I know that's an area of his game that he is been working on. I've seen him after practice taking threes. I know that is something Indiana wanted him to do, and it just never really clicked for him. Just because he's taking threes doesn't mean he's not in the paint anymore. But like if Wendell Carter is going to miss some time, whether it's a week, whether it's 2 weeks, whether he misses the start of the season, Goga Bitadze, you have to feel really comfortable with Goga Bitadze as the starting center, especially if he can add a little bit of play on the perimeter. I think that was the one thing that really took him out of the rotation last year was he was really only a pick and roll player. Like you could only rely on him. And look, he's still getting the scavenger points. I'm a scavenger myself. I respect it. I respect the art form. He's still getting some of those scavenger points. That's not going to go away just because he's out on the perimeter a little bit more. It's a little bit more of a 3-point option. It's really just about keeping the defense honest. Like if the defense is giving you that 3, make one, and they're not going to leave you for the rest of the game. That's really what 3-point shooting is about. Bitadze looked really good. Looked really, really good. And obviously, again, just one game. Don't want to overreact to anything. He was in the game toward the end when all the bench players were in. It's not anything to go crazy, not anything to go super crazy over, but I really like the way that he played. And again, just another thing that can continue to elevate this Magic team and push them to that next level. The Orlando Magic fall the New Orleans Pelicans 106-104. They ended up having to come back from a 7-point deficit. They got it to within 1. Corey Joseph actually was fouled on a 3-pointer down by 3. He did the right thing, missed a free throw to make sure that we couldn't go to that O word. When New Orleans split their free throws, Trevelyan Queen did the right thing, went for 3. Jamal Mosley said it was a pretty good look. Thought he also had Jet Howard in the corner. Jet Howard also had a nice game, I thought. Certainly willing to shoot threes, as was Caleb Houston, which I think is a valuable thing. Jet Howard was 2 for 6, 1 for 4 from 3. Added that element. Trevelyan Queen missed the 3. Everybody goes home happy with a 106-104. Most importantly, no overtime. No preseason overtime. We'd rather take a draw than an overtime. So, again, in summary about this game, we're not overreacting to anything. We're not going crazy. Paolo was really good. I should mention that. Paolo Banchero, 15 points on 5 for 7 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3, 4 for 6 from the foul line. The Magic going 27 from 35 from the foul line is honestly the thing I'm complaining most about because there's no excuse for missing that many free throws. Franz was also 4 for 6. The Magic have to make free throws. Like they get to the line so much. They led the league in free throw rate last year. They want to improve this offense. They got to make free throws. I know it's boring, but that's a big thing. The turnovers were frustrating, but stuff you expect in the preseason is kind of just getting timing and getting patterns down. They'll be fine on those. Overall, like not a game where we're over the moon excited about what this Magic team is going to do and going to be, but a game where you shouldn't feel depressed about it either. Everything that they struggled with was correctable. Everything that they struggled with, they're going to get better at. And we'll see them, I think, get better at it after practice on Tuesday and in Wednesday's game in San Antonio. I think that this team understands how to be ready for the regular season. They're not a veteran team, but they are an experienced team now. They know how good they can be. I don't trust that they can turn that switch on and off necessarily, but this was a fine opener. Not the best opener, not the worst opener. We'll see how they look on Wednesday. And again, the goal is to keep getting better. Of course, one question does linger. One question does matter. The big question that the Magic are facing: why Monday's game did not answer the point guard question. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by friends over at Gametime. It is a busy time here in Central Florida. I know we got the hurricane coming, so please be safe during the hurricane. But once that hurricane's gone, and once all the cleanup's done and everything is back to normal, sports are here. The Orlando Magic have their home preseason opener on Friday. Orlando City has decision day, I believe, this weekend against the dreaded Five Stripes of Atlanta United. UCF is still scheduled to have their home game on Saturday. There's still a lot going on here in Central Florida. And if you want tickets to the game, Gametime is your place to go. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events easier. With Gametime Picks, they filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. With Gametime, you get so many great features, including their all-in pricing. When you toggle this feature, it shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You do have to turn on this feature, so check it out. Seat views also give you a digital panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, and their lowest price guarantee means they will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a ticket cheaper than the one Gametime offers. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. We are coming up on the end of the show, and so the end of at least what I planned for the show. So if you have any questions pertaining to the regular season, pertaining to the Orlando Magic, if you're watching on the live stream, now is the time to get them in. Now is the time to get those questions in. I'm going to try and do more live shows during the course of the season, figure out what works. Today felt like a good day to get your thoughts and get your opinion. So if you have any questions or comments you want to add, I will try and get to them. I've been reading through them as we go down. I think I've hit the big ones other than the talk about what we're going to talk about now. Obviously, I think the biggest concern for the Orlando Magic as we enter this season is this question about playmaking. I know I identified it. I think a lot of people around the league identified that the biggest need the Orlando Magic have is to find a true point guard, to find someone who could kind of manage this roster, manage all the players available, and see how all these pieces fit together and make sure everyone's getting fed, essentially. That's essentially what everybody is after. Paolo Banchero even said it at the end of the season that the Magic need a table setter. They need someone who can come in and make the play or come in and make sure that he gets an easy shot or Franz gets an easy shot or just kind of manage the team. Maybe not take the ball completely out of his hands, but be someone that can manage this team. And the Magic, I think, understood that they needed that, but they didn't quite want to commit to it. They wanted to give Paolo and Franz and their young players the freedom to control the game themselves. And I think they view Paolo as this kind of hub that has the ball in his hands and is just constantly making decisions. You know, that's how the Magic played in this game. The Magic looked like that was the idea behind what they're doing. And so obviously they went after Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Decidedly not a playmaker, although he's better off the dribble today than I thought he would be. And they trusted that Jalen Suggs could at least manage and be the nominal point guard. Like I said, I think the biggest issue that the Magic had in Monday's loss was that everyone was still trying to figure out their roles and figure out how they fit in and figure out how to manage this responsibility. You have a point guard. The point guard kind of dictates that. He says, like, okay, it's my turn to run a pick and roll. It's my turn to run the show. Okay, now let's make sure we get Paolo a touch. Let's make sure we get Franz a touch. That's what a point guard is supposed to do. And the Magic, I think, clearly kind of lack that. That doesn't mean they can't get that or get something approaching that or get something close to that. But I think they clearly lacked it. I think they were clearly searching for it and trying to find the right balance. To me, that was the biggest issue in the game. And so, obviously we sit here. The Orlando Magic at 23 turnovers for 26 points. Not good. Big highlight of the postgame, big highlight of the game is that every time it felt like the Magic were gaining momentum, they'd turn the ball over. That happens in the preseason. You don't like it, you don't love it, you correct it, but it happens. And it generally felt like that Jalen Suggs was trying, was on the ball a little bit more, was trying to be creative, was trying to do all that stuff, and obviously had some growing pains. And maybe that's what this season is for him. It's a season of growing pains. Someone earlier in the comments, I'm sorry, I'm not going to fish through and find it, asked, will Jalen Suggs still get an extension? I 100% still believe that. But certainly struggling a little bit with the concepts and the role the Magic have in mind for him may affect the price, may affect whether this thing goes to the summer or not. Magic have 2 weeks from today, October 21st at 6 p.m. Eastern time to get a contract extension done with Jalen Suggs. We'll see. We will see. We don't know yet. And obviously, I think Jalen still has room to grow. But this is the challenge of what the Magic are trying to do. They're trying to play at a high level without a player that keeps them at that high level. Yes, raw talent is going to propel this team into the playoffs. Paolo Banchero is too good, too versatile, too everything for this team not to be competitive. Franz Wagner is too talented, too good for this team not to be competitive. It's not going to prevent them from making the playoffs and establishing those bare bones goals. I want to repeat this. I did not think the Magic starters, certainly didn't play well in the third quarter. I did not think the Magic played particularly well in the first half at all. And when you look up at the scoreboard, they're only down 2. They were figuring it out as they went along. And that's going to be this process for a little bit. Especially here in the preseason where you're allowed to make mistakes and maybe you're not, playing at regular season intensity. Like, I'm not going to pretend, I don't know if that's how they felt, but that's how it looked to me. The Magic still have to learn these things. It's going to be a little bit of an experiment. It's going to be a little trial and error, especially for Jalen Suggs, who never played this role or played this role a little bit as a rookie when he didn't know. And he's admitted, like, I wasn't ready for that responsibility. And, as Jalen Suggs put it, God slowed him down. God gave him an injury to slow him down and say, you're not ready for this. I'm going to kind of take the toy away for a little bit. If that's that, whatever story you have to tell yourself. But is he ready now? We're going to find out. And if he isn't ready now, then they'll do what they did in the playoffs. And Paolo will lead the way. And Franz will lead the way. And they'll split that responsibility. It isn't solely on Suggs. But everybody is figuring out that right balance. And that's going to be the challenge of this preseason. That's going to be something we're going to watch in this preseason. Because, yes, now we got to see those turnovers come down. Again, the goal is to be better the next time out. Wednesday night, I'm expecting a better game. San Antonio's obviously not, San Antonio's Wembanyama, which makes getting into the paint a little bit more difficult. But San Antonio does not have the perimeter defense or the defensive intensity that New Orleans has. New Orleans didn't have Brandon Ingram in this game. Herb Jones set a good tone early, or not Herb Jones. Herb Jones set a really good tone early in the game. Defensively, there's a lot of deflections. There's a lot of passes trying to squeeze through tight windows. That's the kind of stuff that's going to have to stop. That's the kind of stuff the Magic are going to have to cut out from their run here. So this is the time to figure this stuff out, to figure out that balance. And obviously, like, they're working on it in practice. They're working on it in games. They got 2 weeks to figure it out. They got 2 weeks to find it. And again, maybe they do have it. And the directive is, hey, we're going to work on this stuff today. Again, remember, like coaches say this all the time, the preseason games are an extension of training camp. The preseason games are us kind of, like pinning down or continuing to teach and see what carries over from practice into games. How do you adjust when you don't know what's coming? Like, that's the problem with practice is everybody knows what the other team is running. You know the defense, you know the offense. Now you got to problem solve a little bit. And maybe that's where the Magic were a little bit off today. They didn't problem solve as well. They didn't kind of find that balance. And again, that's going to, I think, be the story of the season offensively for this team. Or maybe they know exactly what they're doing and it just wasn't what they were working on today. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what the emphasis was? But it's going to be a work in progress. This is a young team still, while experienced, while making the playoffs last year. This is a team that still has a lot of growing to do. And by all accounts, they will be very capable of making that growth here. Be making that growth. And it's going to be a continuing process throughout the course of the next 2 weeks. And certainly as we get going here in the regular season. Again, a lot of us I'm very glad that the comments here are very calm, very collected, understanding what we saw. There's no overreacting to what we saw. This is a chance to learn. This is a chance to grow. There is still work to do. Like, don't get it wrong. If the Magic had to play a regular season game on Wednesday, they are not ready for that. Like, let's make that clear. They need to make the most of this time before they head down to Miami on October 23rd. There is still a lot of work to do. And again, hopefully Wendell Carter's healthy. That is a big part of this too. But the Magic do have the depth, I think, to hold on and continue to learn and grow the way that they need to do. That's all I've got for you today. I hope everyone enjoyed the live show. I hope everyone enjoyed the Pelicans Magic game. The Magic's next game will be Wednesday in San Antonio against the San Antonio Spurs. That game will be on League Pass as well and won't be the stadium feed this time. It will be Bally Sports Southwest, I think, is the affiliate in San Antonio. But San Antonio local TV does have the game, so it won't be quite the same experience as it was Monday afternoon. If there are any questions you have about the Magic in general or about the Magic season, now is the time to bring them in, because I'm going to do my ending spiel here in a minute. So if you have any questions about the Magic, now is the time. If not, you can always ask them on Twitter at @PhilipR_OMD. Having said that, I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. If you watched live and commented live, thank you for joining the live show as well. Again, I'm hoping to do more live shows, so listen to Locked On Magic. I'll try and announce within about a week of when I plan to do live shows. I plan to do them more regularly this year. You can check that out. You can check that out. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Get notifications on the YouTube page at youtube.com/@LockedOnMagic. And of course, if audio is your preferred medium and you just stumbled upon us, you can download the podcast on Apple Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Odyssey, wherever you download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And as always, thank you for your support. One more point of order question has been asked about the broadcast. As far as I know, there is still a radio broadcast planned for Wednesday evening. I know that our good friend Jake Chapman, the radio voice of the Orlando Magic, does those broadcasts from the Kia Center. The Storm is supposed to hit us Wednesday night, Thursday morning. That is a later game too. It is an 8:30 tip-off from San Antonio. So I don't know if he will still be broadcasting it from their compound in the Kia Center. I'll follow me on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. I will be sure to update that when I find out. I don't have an answer for that. And before we go, let's get some questions in. Angelo Santiago asked, does Goga start in place of WCJ again? Yes. I think that the plan would be, I think generally the way Jamal Mosley likes to do things is kind of the Greg Popovich way. You don't disrupt your rotation. The Magic have a really successful bench group. Why mess with that? You're going to have to mix and match guys anyway. Don't mess with that. Add someone new to the starting lineup. That's how you get kind of guys in there, especially guys you trust. And the Magic do trust Goga Bitadze. I know it doesn't feel like that all the time because he's kind of out of the rotation. They do trust him. They are going to need him. I repeat this every year. everybody on this roster is going to be called upon at some point. Someone asked me, why Gary Harris was playing, because Magic fans hate Gary Harris. And like, oh, let's get Jet Howard. And there's like, well, Jet doesn't have the defensive trust quite yet. And he was fine today. Like, I think Jet Howard's a really good player. But I made the point, they were kind of shocked that I made this point, or that I expressed this take. I think Caleb Houston's ahead of all of them. I think Caleb Houston's ahead of Tristan Da Silva, honestly, on the depth chart of if we need an injury replacement for our rotation, this is who we turn to. The Magic will make those decisions, obviously, as they come, as they happen. But yes, I don't think the Magic want to start Mo Wagner, because Mo Wagner is a better defensive player. Don't get me wrong, a much better defensive player. But he is not someone I would start as a defensive player, especially like going up against a Victor Wembanyama. Like you need someone who's a little bit more defensive minded, I think, for the early parts of the game. And that's why I think they like Goga Bitadze a lot. He's a significantly better rim protector. Again, they'll go by committee. I think we'll see some games where Goga plays instead of Mo. Honestly, like, wouldn't surprise me too much if we see some Mo Goga lineups or some Goga Wendell or Wendell Mo lineups a little bit more in this year. That's an idea that I've had, but we'll see. Again, we don't know if Wendell Carter is going to miss time. It's been asked here. I do think he misses Wednesday's game. I don't think that, it's preseason. It's not important. It's more, Paolo joked about it after the game. He said he told Wendell, don't come back till the start of the regular season. We need you for game one. To me, that says two things. One, Paolo is already thinking about the regular season more than the preseason. Like, this is all formality stuff. I don't think Wendell's seriously hurt. Again, we'll see. I rolled my ankle the exact same way he did and broke my foot. So you just don't know until you get some imaging done. But I do think that Wendell, I don't think Wendell plays Wednesday. I doubt he plays Friday too, to be perfectly honest. There's no reason to rush him back. You're not gaining anything by rushing him back. You're potentially losing more. I had people complaining, like, why are starters playing in these preseason games? They need the reps. Clearly they need the reps. Clearly they need to play in these games, but clearly they need to play in these games. Like, they need it. Like, we saw that they needed it. But I would say that there's no reason to push an injured player in the preseason. There's no reason for it. Angelo Santiago further asks, do you think Goga keeps this spot when Wendell Carter comes back and let Wendell anchor the second unit? Unless Goga Bitadze is averaging like 15 points per game and 10 rebounds per game, unless he's just like blowing the doors open, which again, he looked really good today. I'm not going to lie. He looked really good on Monday. I do think they stick with Wendell Carter. They like Wendell Carter's shooting ability. He is a really good positional defender. He is a great passer from the high post in a way that Goga is not. Really, like, honestly, like, the two biggest questions with Wendell Carter are, can he protect the rim? Can he be an above the rim protector? And can he stay healthy? And again, like, I saw some people maybe calling him soft or whatever. And it's just like, no, like, if you've played basketball, you've injured your ankle the way that Wendell Carter injured his ankles today. Like, it happens. It happens regularly. It is not uncommon. And he's out for a month. He's out for a week. So what? Like, this week doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's important, get those reps in. I didn't think Wendell played poorly today at all. Like, he didn't get that many shots. He only 4 points, 2 for 3 shooting, 6 rebounds. I thought he rebounded really well. And I know that was a struggle for him last year. I thought he looked really good. So I'm still, if you know me, I'm a Wendell Carter supporter. I believe in him. I believe in what he can do for this team. I believe in how important he is for this team. I do have questions. I do share those concerns about kind of bigger picture things, but no one's presented me a better center option than Wendell Carter. Maybe it is Goga Bitadze. And if that's the case, then the Magic have that trade chip in their back pocket. But I don't think, I think it's Wendell Carter's starting spot. He hasn't lost it. He certainly didn't lose it today. It's just an injury. It's injury, but like everyone's saying, Goga Bitadze is a really good third center to have. You trust him to start for however long he needs to start. And he will fill that role admirably. And again, maybe that does free up trade discussions for Wendell Carter when we get down the road, but obviously we are not there. If there are, Wendell Carter is always hurt. He's never played more than 62 games in a season. That was the 2022 season, his first full season in Orlando. Look, Wendell Carter wants to be healthy. Like it's been random things. It's never been the same injury year over year. He broke his hand going up for a game-winning rebound last year. Nothing you can do about that. Hopefully this is a short-term injury. I don't want to see him miss 20 games, but I've said it all the time. Like, you have to plan on Wendell Carter missing 15 to 20 games. That's why people yelled at me for the Isaiah Hartenstein thing that I did last year at the Locked On Mock Draft. And I was like, if I can get a high-level backup center for when Wendell Carter is inevitably going to miss 15 to 20 games, I'm gonna be really happy. I'm gonna be in good shape. And I'll take a victory lap on that one. Everyone's kind of giving me a mea culpa on that. Even the Locked On Knicks guys were like, how did you know he was that good? I was like, I didn't think he was that good, but he's valuable. He's a good player. That's neither here nor there. I'm taking victory laps on that one because y'all dragged me through the mud for that mock trade. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. If you watched live, I want to thank you for joining us live. Like I said, I'm going to try and do more live shows throughout the course of the year. But now that you're done listening to Locked On Magic, go make Locked On Fantasy Basketball your second listen of the day. Become a fantasy basketball expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Josh Lloyd. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, thank you all for joining the show live. Thank you for listening wherever you're listening to. Please, 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 please take Tuesday and Wednesday to prepare yourself for the hurricane that's coming to Central Florida. Please, please, please be safe. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. Plan is still to do a post-game episode Wednesday. I will do episodes as long as I have power. I recorded during the last hurricane and my lights were flickering. It was fun. But I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On tomorrow's episode, we'll probably address these Goga Batadze questions, the Wendell Carter questions, and dive a little bit deeper into the injury as we get more information about it from the Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.